Hi guys, today we're in my friend Alex's 2014 Mustang GT. And we're going to take it for a little drive and talk about it.
Here we go.
The first thing I've noticed about this car is that the clutch is extremely easy. It's very short travel, and it's not very stiff at all.
No.
And the way that the shifter feels, the stock shifter, it's very notchy and crisp, I guess is the best way I could describe it. So it's a really good car for someone that wants to get into a cool car and wants to be able to learn how to drive manual fairly easy.
A very good manual learner. It's got a lot of power for a beginner,
right?
But just the way the throw is, it's very nice. When you're going like 0 to 60, whatever, beating on it, you can just bang through here so quick, which is really nice.
And this thing sounds great.
Yeah. So the exhaust sounds really good. That's aftermarket. That's a Flowmaster Outlaw Catback X-Pipe. That's actually one of the only things that's not really stock about the car. Almost everything else is. The engine stock, the 5.0 Coyote. It's got a T56 Magnum. Yeah, the rims are aftermarket. I actually didn't. So when I first bought the car, I didn't love. So I liked the rims. Like they're pretty cool, but I wasn't absolutely in love with them,
Right.
But then after I got the car and I had it for a little bit, I just I more and more fell in love with them, and now I won't sell them. Especially in pictures, it looks so good. I've had a couple people, like 3 or 4 different people, offer me like $1,200 for them for the Ford. A bunch of people offered me $1,000, and one guy even offered $1,400 for the Ford. But
that's the thing about, you buy a car and you don't like something about it, like you say, didn't like the rims at first, and then it kind of grows on you.
Yeah. Now I can't imagine the car without them.
Right.
This is another reason why I refuse to sell them.
This Flowmaster Outlaw with the X-Pipe, it definitely sounds really, really good. And then you also have Longtube headers as well.
Yeah. So I don't have cats. I got Longtube headers that goes into the pipes, and it's actually the rumble isn't bad in the car. Like the exhaust, especially if you're beating on it, it's really loud. I've had a lot of people tell me they'll be like a mile and a half away, sometimes even 2 miles, and if I'm like rev bombing it or beating the shit out of it, they can hear it clear as day, like 2 miles back.
Right, but when you're in here and you're cruising, it's not that bad. The drone's not that bad.
Yeah, for sure.
But then when you want to get into it, then it sounds really good.
Yeah, you can sit back and really enjoy it when you want. You can kind of pick and choose when you want to hear the car and when you don't want to hear the car, which is really nice. Because I think if I was taking on like a 3-hour cruise, I think it'd get a little annoying,
right,
kind of fast. But it's not all the time. And just when we're cruising like this, like you can hear the rumble, which is really nice, but it's not in your face.
These cars are definitely going down a little bit in price, and they're a really good platform to get into. The 5.0 is a great motor. Say you want to make quite a bit of power and you're on a budget, rather than get the GT 500, which that's a piece of history, I understand if that's why you're getting it. But if your only goal is to go fast, you might as well just hop in one of these. Throw a supercharger on it or a turbo setup, or
especially like the cost of the 5.0 Coyote and like a Shelby GT 500, you can just put so much more into this car and still come out about the same price wise.
Right. And I absolutely I like the newer Mustangs, don't get me wrong, but there's just something about this body style and this interior where they kind of made it like a modernized version of the old Mustang. It just looks great and it works well.
Yeah, so like we said earlier, this is a 2014, so it's got the 07 through 14 body style. The 2015 through
still called the S197, but from 05 to 09 they had a body style, and then after that there was like 2 years, I think the 10 and the 11, where it kind of looks slightly different.
Yeah,
and 1 year still had the 4.6, I believe the 2010, and then after that there's the 12, 13, and 14, and that's they look a little bit different, but they're still called the S197, which I'm not sure why they did that.
Well, when I was getting deeper and deeper into the Mustangs, the 2013 and 2014 body size I just love so much more than the rest. Don't get me wrong, the others look at, like the new ones, I'll give them, they look better in person than you would think. In pictures I don't like them at all. In person they're not too bad, but I'd never want one. I was looking on Marketplace for quite a while because I wanted like a you know, like a quote unquote cool car, a Mustang car, something to have some fun with. And so I was on Marketplace a good month and a half or so looking. I'm a Ford guy, so obviously I'm drawn to the Mustang, and like the old ones just don't really do it for me. I like newer. You know, a lot of people like the old style, which are pretty solid too. Don't get me wrong, but I ended up finding this one on Marketplace up by the Twin Cities in Minnesota, and for what it is, I feel like I got a pretty reasonable deal. I'm very happy with it. Never wish I wouldn't have got it, if you know what I mean. When I first bought the car, I actually only had, so this is a manual, you know, a 6-speed, and in total drive time for a manual car I had about an hour's worth before I bought this thing, which is really funny. My mom, so when I went up and got the car, it was me, my mom, and my dad, and another one of my buddies. And my mom didn't know I knew how to drive manual, obviously, because I've had like an hour's worth total. Drove like 2 different vehicles. I drove a Mustang and an old Ford Ranger, which are both manual. That's kind of how I learned. Had about 20 minutes in the Ford and the manual, in the truck, and then about 40 minutes in the Mustang. Both of them were 5 speeds. We were at a little small town dealership, and my mom was like, we're gonna go test drive it. My mom was like, but you don't know how to drive manual, and I was like, oh, don't worry about it, I'll just figure it out. It's really funny. And so she had zero faith in me at all. I got in the car, backed it up, got on the road, and started flying through gears. Like the little short throw is so nice and clicks so easy.
Right.
You can just
and this is a stock shifter also, to mention that. There's no short throw shifter, and it still feels really good. Going back to the new ones versus this body style, they're not as techy, but they still have enough to where, like, I can watch my air fuel ratio. I can watch, I'm not sure if it's 100% accurate, I can watch the oil pressure and the air intake temperature, and you can customize the gauge color, and you can do plenty of stuff to where it's not overbearing. Oh, it's like I'm driving an iPad.
Yes, which is really not, it doesn't feel like I'm in the future. Right. You got that old style feel, but there's, so like you just said, so much customization. It's got on both the driver and passenger, like down by your feet, there's an underglow that you can change the color of the dash. There's so many settings. Like you can see like your average miles per gallon, like about what you're getting right now. Like you said, you can change the colors. It's got like track timers, so if you're testing speeds, and
it's like a modernized old school muscle car.
Yes.
And that's what people want when they buy a Mustang, is they want to drive a muscle car. They don't want to drive something that's all teched out.
Right.
Not saying that's like where Ford has gone with the newer ones. I haven't driven one, so I can't be too critical, but I'm gonna turn around here.
But it's really not, it's not super jittery. Like when you're giving it gas, it definitely, you don't have to try super hard to really get set back in your seat.
Right.
Like as you're about to demonstrate.
Yeah, we're gonna get into a little bit here. See how it does. going, but pretty quick.
We were under
does well.
speed limit.
For a few bolt-ons, you know, it doesn't do bad at all.
Yeah, it's like you're in a lot of cars and you kind of get set back, then jerked way forward and back. Like this one, it really sets you back. It jerks you a little bit forward, but not bad. Like it's smooth. You stay back, which is really nice.
It's smooth power. It's not like you're getting into it and you're flying back and you see it gradually builds power. It feels great and it sounds great too.
Yeah.
And the stock suspension, this car still has stock suspension, and we were doing corners back there. We weren't going too crazy, but it feels really planted, and it feels like it corners good.
It corners very well.
I can't say how it would do on the track, but
I've never been on the track. I've never put it on a dyno. I've only had the car actually about a year and a half or so, not quite 2 years. When I got the car, I had about 103,000 miles on it, and now I got like 111, 112 pushing. So not a ton, but like it's never one scene winner. The guy that had it before me lived up in the Twin Cities in Minnesota. He babied it quite a bit. And one thing that does bug me, I'll probably change here sometime before too long. The 250 badges on each side are pretty scuffed up, kind of chipping away. I'd like to get new ones of those, kind of polish it off. Other than that, there's not a whole lot I'd like to do with the car. I like where it's at right now. Like obviously like a turbo or supercharger, you know, it'd be cool, but the amount of money for what I'd get, I don't know is worth it to me.
Right, and this way, you know, I mean, it's a lot of fun with the supercharger or boost, but keeping it NA keeps it reliable, and I know for you, it's not like you're racing, it's a weekend warrior car. And if you guys are looking for a weekend warrior car that's V8, rear-wheel drive, this thing checks all the boxes. It looks good, it sounds good. There's a ton of aftermarket for it.
Yeah, it's like Legos.
Yes.
You can really build what you want. There's a lot of customization. So one thing I have done to it is I put the Hot Licks flamethrower kit on it. Which how that works is, so out of my twin pipes in the back, I can shoot roughly about 2 foot long flames, which at nighttime looks badass. In the daytime it looks pretty good, but in the nighttime it's really cool. How that works, how we put it in is, it doesn't use a fuel line, it uses spark plugs. And way in the back, we went about 5, maybe 6 inches away from the tip of the exhaust, and drilled a hole in each side, and then put this this heavy duty big spark plug in it, kind of bolted it on both sides, you know, so it's not going anywhere, it's not falling out, and then put the boot on it. And then we ran wires up to my console down in here. We put a little red button in, and then the wires run up to my wire box and then to my engine. And what this button does is it kills the spark in my engine, which kind of kills it. It's kind of like if you were to stall the car, is what it kind of sounds like, kind of feels like.
You're taking the spark from the engine, you're putting it to the spark plugs in your exhaust.
You're killing the juice up front and sending it all to the back.
Right, and it spits out a flame, which Alex has used to light campfires, by the way.
Yes. Let my RPMs rise up to about 6 or 7 or so, and then while my foot's still to the floor, I press in and hold this button, which, like I said earlier, will kill my engine, send the spark to the back, and then all the combustion going through will get ignited by the spark and shoot out the flames. Now, while I'm holding this button, my engine's killed, so my RPMs are dropping down to about, when it gets down to about 1,500, 1,500 or so. Then I'll let go of the button, and because my foot's still on the gas, it'll restart my engine and shoot my RPMs back up. And then when they're about to 6 and 7 again, I can hold in the button, which again will kill it, send it back and shoot flames again, drop my RPMs back down to that about 1.5, and hold in the button again, and I can keep doing it. giving it enough.
And this thing also is getting really good gas mileage too.
Yeah.
For people that are concerned about that. I'm sure if you're buying a Mustang, you're not concerned about gas mileage, but when you're on the highway, I seen it was getting high 20s, low 30s to miles per gallon. The city, obviously, it's not going to do good at all, but when you're just out here cruising, I mean.
But yeah, when I'm in town, obviously without stopping and going, I get really shit gas mileage. Like we're talking like 6 to 8, really bad. But cruising highways, yeah, it's like 32, 33 a lot of times. If it's flat, like if there's hills, obviously not quite, but cruising highways and then going in town, it ends up averaging to roughly between like 23 to 26 miles per gallon, which is pretty solid for a muscle car, you know. I've definitely gotten a lot of compliments on the car. A lot of people trying to get me to eat rubber and yeah, rip on it, which is a lot of fun. Though what does kind of suck is because it's so loud. I don't want to do that in town a lot. Like when I rev bomb it, it gets loud. Like I said earlier, like I've had people like 2 miles behind me heard it clear as day,
right.
Which is crazy.
It may be quiet in here when you're cruising, but
Yeah.
from the outside, people are going to hear it, especially if they're in the direction of the rear bumper.
Yeah. And like if the wind's in the right direction too, it echoes a long ways.
And these 5.0 engines, they're, especially the newer ones, they're really starting to make them so you can add a bunch of power to them with boost or whatever you want to do, and you don't really have to open the motor. They just kind of take it.
Yeah. One thing that's really nice about this car too is so you think like a Corvette or whatever, you got no space in the inside. You feel very cramped, and like trunk space, you got none. And in the Mustang, I'm sitting plenty of room. I'm sitting really good. I could definitely cruise in this, take big trips, whatever, and not feel
Right.
cramped.
I'm 5'11". I still have a little bit of headroom here.
Yeah.
So I don't know how it'd be for a really tall guy, but I mean, compared to the Camaro, there's a lot more visibility, and the interior doesn't feel quite, not to knock the Camaro, it's a great car. It doesn't feel quite as plasticky, I guess. It doesn't feel like I'm sitting in a souped up Equinox interior. It feels like you're driving an old school muscle car.
The trunk space is actually pretty solid too. Like so if I ever have this thing and need to haul something, like obviously I can't take big stuff, but there's actually quite a fair, there's more space in the trunk than I would have thought. It goes back pretty deep.
I mean, 10 years later, this car came out 10 years ago, and it holds up. I mean, it checks all the boxes for me. If this is what I was looking to get into, if I wanted a Mustang, I mean,
yeah, I think if I were to buy a Mustang again, it would be this for sure.
Right. There's just something about these cars. The new ones are great. I mean, the 10-speed's good.
The new Dark Horse is pretty cool. That would be cool to have. But for the cost and everything, I think what I got now was the right move. Definitely
Right.
glad I
Because you're not looking to make 1,000 horsepower. You're looking for a nice weekend warrior car that it sounds good and it's plenty fast and it's reliable, and you can take it anywhere and you know it's always going to work.
Yeah.
And it looks good.
Putting a sub in here would be pretty cool, but then you're limiting like the trunk space, and I don't even feel like it really needs it.
Right. Yeah, I mean, if you're buying a Mustang too, I mean, at least me, if I were buying a Mustang, the last thing I'm worried about is like the sound system. I mean, I know some people like to soup them up, and it totally depends what you're into, but if I'm buying a Mustang, it's to buy a Mustang. I want to go fast. I want to drive a good-looking, good-sounding car that's it's been around for a long time. It's a classic.
I'm a guy like obviously I like speed, but I don't really care how fast your car goes. If your car doesn't look good, then I'm not really into it. I like a good-looking car. Obviously, if it was like a insane-looking car but had zero power, nothing, it would also kind of suck. You gotta have that good middle ground, in my opinion.
Honestly, you just start off with a decent platform. You get wheels and tires and maybe some suspension, and of the vehicle down, and then do a little bit of performance stuff here and there, and then you have a really good car that people are gonna like and that you're gonna enjoy too.
What's really nice, because you can really enjoy it. And then like if you have like car enthusiasts talking to you, whatever, there's a lot to go about with the car, a lot for them to love. But if you're also not really into cars, just like the looks of them, it's got that too. Like I've gotten so many compliments about the look of the car, and it really turns heads. Just it always feels really nice.
Right, and not everyone's always gonna like your car too and what you do to it, and that's just something that's normal.
You can't please everybody.
That's something that's normal with the car community. You just got to do what you want to do and build the car for you. And I know Mustangs get a lot of flack, but they're really good cars. I mean, I know there's some people who are out there killing crowds.
Mustangs are known as the crowd surfer, as a lot of people know.
Right.
But
well, I think that about does it for this video. Thanks, Alex, for letting me drive your car
no problem.
and telling us about it.
I had a lot of fun. Thank you.